Close your eyes. June 2020. The world is 6 months into a pandemic. Cities are locked down, offices are empty. Financial markets had just survived one of the fastest crashes in history, and now they were somehow back near all-time highs, propped up by central banks printing money at a scale the world had never seen. And in the middle of all of that, something strange was happening on Ethereum. A lending protocol called Compound launched a new feature. If you deposited money, they would pay you back in a new token called Comp. And people started realizing you could borrow against your deposit, then deposit that borrowed amount, then borrow again. Stack it, loop it, earn tokens on top of tokens on top of tokens. The annual yields being advertised were not 5%, not 10%. Some were over 1,000%. Word spread fast. Within weeks, hundreds of millions of dollars flooded in. Then billions. New protocols launched every day. Uniswap, Yearn Finance, SushiSwap, Curve, each one promising something wilder than the last. The total value locked in DeFi jumped from $1 billion in June to over $10 billion by September. People were calling it DeFi summer, a season when it felt like anyone paying attention could get rich by simply depositing money into smart contracts running on a blockchain. No banks, no middlemen, no paperwork, just code, Ethereum, and the promise that the old financial system was about to be replaced entirely. This is that story. How 3 months in the summer of 2020 rewired how the world thought about money, lending, and what it means to build a financial system with no one in charge. DeFi summer left an indelible mark on the financial sector. It was a catalyst that sparked discussions and debates about the future of finance, a world where decentralization could redefine how we understand money. For some, it was a lesson in the risks of unbridled innovation. For others, it offered a glimpse into a more equitable financial system. As the dust settled, it became clear that this phenomenon had not only altered the landscape of finance, but also ignited a conversation that continues to unfold. And now, as we prepare to delve deeper into the story of DeFi summer, let us turn the page to Chapter 1. Please provide the initial text or context that you would like me to expand upon. Once you do, I can help create a richly detailed and historically accurate narrative to fill out the chapter. Once you do, I can help create a richly detailed and historically accurate narrative to fill out the chapter. The summer of 2020 was not just any summer. It was a summer of rapid growth and change that would forever alter the landscape of finance. As the warm months unfolded, a digital revolution gained momentum in the realm of decentralized finance, or DeFi, as it came to be known. In the world of blockchain, the term DeFi summer evokes a period marked by an explosive rise in decentralized financial applications. The summer months became a turning point, fueled by the convergence of technological innovation and human ambition. At the heart of this movement were the blockchain platforms that enabled the creation and exchange of digital assets without traditional intermediaries. The economic backdrop of 2020 was one of uncertainty, as the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted global markets and economies. Amidst this turmoil, DeFi provided an alternative path, promising new opportunities and democratizing access to financial services. In June 2020, as temperatures rose, so did the value locked within DeFi protocols. It climbed from $1 billion to over $10 billion by September, a tenfold increase in merely 3 months. Ethereum, the blockchain network that dominated this space, was at the core of the DeFi summer. Its ability to execute smart contracts laid the foundation upon which decentralized applications, or dApps, could flourish. One of the most significant projects to rise during this period was Uniswap, a decentralized exchange allowing users to trade tokens without relying on a centralized authority. By August 2020, Uniswap had surpassed Coinbase in trading volume, marking a pivotal shift in the cryptocurrency exchange landscape. The rise of DeFi was not just about technology. It was a human story of innovation, risk-taking, and a relentless pursuit of new possibilities. Developers around the globe, many working independently or in small teams, built platforms and protocols from their homes. They were driven by the vision of creating a financial system that was more inclusive and equitable. Among them was Hayden Adams, the creator of Uniswap, who left his Bitcoin had just made its debut, introducing the concept of a decentralized currency. Yet the true potential of blockchain technology extended far beyond a digital coin. This potential was first envisioned by a then 19-year-old programmer named Vitalik Buterin. Vitalik, frustrated by Bitcoin's limitations, introduced Ethereum in 2013. Ethereum was not just a digital currency, it was a platform for decentralized applications, or dApps, powered by smart contracts. Smart contracts are self-executing contracts with the terms of the agreement directly written into code. They run on the decentralized Ethereum network, ensuring that once set into motion, they execute without the need for intermediaries. The implications of such technology were profound. By removing intermediaries, smart contracts enabled peer-to-peer interactions that were not only efficient, but also resistant to censorship and fraud. This paved the way for decentralized exchanges, lending platforms, and a myriad of other financial instruments that would form the backbone of DeFi. In 2018, we saw the launch of the first major DeFi project, MakerDAO. Built on the Ethereum blockchain, MakerDAO allowed users to lock up their Ether and generate a stablecoin called DAI. DAI, unlike volatile cryptocurrencies, was pegged to the US dollar. This provided a semblance of stability in an otherwise turbulent market. MakerDAO's success was a testament to the power of decentralized finance. It demonstrated that financial products could exist without centralized control. By mid-2020, the stage was set for DeFi summer. The combination of mature blockchain technologies and a global appetite for financial alternatives became a catalyst for explosive growth. Over the summer months, the total value locked in DeFi platforms surged from around $1 billion in May to over $11 billion by September. This influx of capital was fueled by both institutional investors and retail participants, eager to partake in the novel world of decentralized finance. Behind this meteoric rise were the developers and architects of DeFi protocols. People like Hayden Adams, the creator of Uniswap, a decentralized exchange that relied on automated market-making rather than traditional order books. Uniswap's simple yet groundbreaking protocol allowed users to swap Ethereum-based tokens directly and seamlessly. In doing so, it democratized access to liquidity and trading. Equally significant was the role of Compound, a decentralized lending platform that enabled users to earn interest or borrow assets against collateral. Founded by Robert Leshner in 2017, Compound introduced the concept of liquidity mining. Participants could earn additional tokens by providing liquidity to the platform. This incentivized participation, driving further growth within the DeFi ecosystem. The technological triumphs of DeFi were numerous, yet they were not without challenges. The reliance on smart contracts, while innovative, also introduced vulnerabilities. Once deployed, these contracts were immutable, meaning any bugs or exploits could be catastrophic. The infamous DAO hack of 2016, where $50 million worth of Ether was stolen, served as a stark reminder of these risks. Although Ethereum itself was robust, the applications built atop it were only as secure as their underlying code. Security audits and bug bounty programs became essential for DeFi projects. Companies like OpenZeppelin and Consensus Diligence emerged as leaders in the field, offering services to review and fortify smart contracts against potential exploits. Despite these efforts, the complex nature of DeFi meant that new vulnerabilities were continually exposed. The year 2020 alone saw several high-profile exploits, including the $25 million hack of DeForce and the $8 million breach of BZX. Moreover, the rapid growth and innovation of DeFi posed questions about regulatory compliance. Traditional financial systems operate under strict regulatory frameworks designed to protect consumers and maintain market integrity. DeFi, by its decentralized nature, existed outside these frameworks. This regulatory ambiguity presented both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, it allowed for rapid innovation, free from bureaucratic constraints. On the other, it left participants vulnerable to scams and market manipulation. Historically, financial revolutions have often prompted regulatory responses. In the late 19th century, the advent of trusts and large corporate conglomerates led to antitrust legislation in the United States. Similarly, the 2008 financial crisis resulted in sweeping regulatory reforms globally. As DeFi continued to grow, it became increasingly clear that some form of oversight would eventually be necessary to safeguard the burgeoning industry. By the close of DeFi summer, the world stood at a crossroads. The innovations behind decentralized finance had challenged the very foundations of the financial sector. Yet, with these groundbreaking achievements came the realization of inherent vulnerabilities and the need for sustainable growth. As 2020 gave way to 2021, developers, investors, and regulators alike grappled with the question of how to harness the power of DeFi without succumbing to its potential pitfalls. Looking behind the curtain of DeFi summer reveals a narrative of ambition, ingenuity, and resilience. It is a story of individuals pushing the boundaries of what is possible, leveraging technology to redefine finance. But as history has shown, every revolution must eventually reconcile with reality. The future of decentralized finance depends on finding this balance. As we prepare to explore the pivotal moments that define this era, one truth remains clear: the journey of DeFi is far from over. In the next chapter, we will delve into the turning points that shaped DeFi summer, examining the events and decisions that propelled decentralized finance into the spotlight and defined its trajectory. The summer of 2020 was unlike any other. As the sun rose high over the financial world, a revolution quietly unfolded. Decentralized finance, or DeFi, was on the brink of transforming how we understood money, banking, and financial autonomy. This chapter marks a turning point, a crescendo of innovation and ambition, where the seeds planted years earlier began to bear fruit. For the uninitiated, DeFi summer was not a single event, but rather a series of pivotal moments. Each moment contributed to a massive wave of change. At its core were the technologies that had been brewing since the inception of blockchain. Smart contracts, automated and self-executing, offered a glimpse into a future where intermediaries were no longer kingmakers. Ethereum, the leading blockchain platform, played a critical role in this evolution. Launched in 2015 by Vitalik Buterin and his team, Ethereum provided the infrastructure upon which decentralized applications, or dApps, could flourish. The flexibility of Ethereum's blockchain enabled innovators to experiment and create financial products that operated outside traditional banking systems. One such innovator was Hayden Adams, a former mechanical engineer who created Uniswap. In May 2020, Uniswap was beginning to gain traction. A decentralized exchange protocol, Uniswap allowed users to trade tokens directly from their wallets, bypassing conventional centralized exchanges. Uniswap's rise was meteoric, driven by a simple yet powerful concept: automated market making. As word spread, liquidity began to pour into Uniswap. By the end of DeFi summer, the platform's total value locked TVL had surged past $3 billion. It was a testament to the allure of decentralized trading and the potential for anyone, anywhere, to participate in this new financial ecosystem. Amidst these developments, another critical moment came with the launch of Compound's governance token, COMP, in June 2020. Compound, a decentralized lending protocol, had been operational since 2018. However, the introduction of COMP ushered in an era of yield farming. This ingenious mechanism allowed users to earn rewards for providing liquidity, effectively democratizing access to financial incentives. Within weeks, Compound's TVL skyrocketed to over $600 million. Users were drawn by the prospect of lucrative returns, a stark contrast to the low interest rates offered by traditional banks. Yield farming became the buzzword of the summer, with developers racing to replicate Compound's model. It was a financial gold rush, with the promise of wealth driving participation and innovation. In the heart of Silicon Valley, a group of developers saw the opportunity to build on this momentum. Andre Cronje, a South African coder known for his relentless work ethic, introduced Yearn Finance in July 2020. Yearn was a protocol designed to optimize yield farming. By automating the process of moving funds between different DeFi platforms, it maximized returns for its users. Cronje's approach was unconventional. He launched Yearn without any initial token offering, relying instead on community support and organic growth. The project's governance token, YFI, was distributed directly to users, gaining value solely through its utility and demand. Remarkably, YFI's price soared, reaching $30,000 per token by September, despite its initial supply having no intrinsic value. The success stories of Uniswap, Compound, and Yearn captured headlines. Yet, they were only part of the larger narrative. At the fringes of this financial renaissance were smaller, burgeoning projects pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Balancer, a protocol for programmable liquidity, and Aave, a decentralized lending platform, both saw significant growth during this period. The enthusiasm was palpable, but it wasn't without its challenges. On August 10, 2020, Yam Finance, a new yield farming protocol, launched with much fanfare. Within days, it amassed over $500 million in TVL. However, a critical coding flaw was soon discovered. The bug led to a failure in the protocol's governance mechanism, rendering it unable to adjust supply, ultimately leading to its collapse. The Yam incident was a stark reminder of the fragility inherent in this nascent ecosystem. Despite the allure of high returns, the risks were equally high. Yet for many, the potential of DeFi outweighed these dangers. Investors, developers, and enthusiasts alike were willing to traverse this uncharted territory, driven by the belief in a future where finance was open and accessible to all. Regulation was another looming specter during DeFi summer. Governments and financial institutions watched with a mixture of intrigue and concern. The rise of decentralized platforms operating without oversight or intervention posed both a challenge and a threat to the status quo. Questions arose about the legality and compliance of these platforms as regulators began to contemplate their next moves. It was clear that DeFi was more than a fleeting trend. Its implications reached far beyond the shores of digital currency. As the summer drew to a close, the foundations for a new financial era had been laid. People like Vitalik Buterin, Hayden Adams, and Andre Cronje had pushed the boundaries of what was conceivable, setting the stage for a future ripe with possibility and innovation. The journey was far from over. DeFi summer had ignited a spark that refused to be extinguished. Yet, as with all revolutions, there were cracks and challenges looming on the horizon. In the wake of this exhilarating ascent, the community would soon face its greatest tests. Each success story, each failure, was a lesson etched into the annals of financial history. As we move forward, we explore the vulnerabilities and challenges that emerged. The next chapter will delve into these complexities, examining how the burgeoning DeFi world navigated the tumultuous waters of security breaches and market volatility. Join us as we uncover the cracks within this brave new world and the lessons learned along the way. Join us as we uncover the cracks within this brave new world and the lessons learned along the way. The summer of 2020, famously dubbed DeFi summer, was a time of explosive growth and innovation in decentralized finance. Yet amidst the euphoria and optimism, cracks began to form in the foundation of this nascent financial revolution. These fissures, often overlooked in the rush of progress, signaled deeper issues that would soon demand attention. The promise of DeFi was a world free from traditional financial intermediaries, where individuals could trade, lend, and borrow with unprecedented freedom. However, this new frontier was not without its perils. One of the first major incidents that highlighted inherent vulnerabilities occurred on April 19, 2020. On that day, the DeFi protocol lendf.me suffered a security breach, resulting in the loss of approximately $25 million. This incident, although resolved with the hacker returning the funds, exposed the susceptibility of these systems to exploitation. Security had always been touted as one of blockchain's strongest suits. Yet the decentralized nature of these systems meant that once a vulnerability was discovered, there was no central authority to quickly deploy a fix. The lendf.me hack was not an isolated incident. Throughout DeFi summer, several other platforms faced similar breaches. One such case involved the BZX protocol. In February 2020, during a span of just a few days, BZX fell victim to two separate attacks, leading to a loss of nearly $1 million. These breaches exploited vulnerabilities in the system's code and brought to light the sophisticated strategies employed by attackers to manipulate decentralized platforms. The rapid pace of development and deployment in DeFi meant that rigorous security audits often took a back seat to innovation and market capture. The allure of high returns acted like a siren's call, attracting both legitimate users and malicious actors. Stories began to surface of individuals like Ethan Wood, a software engineer from San Francisco, who was drawn into the DeFi space by the promise of double-digit yields. Like many others, Ethan had invested heavily in several DeFi projects, his confidence bolstered by the apparent resilience of these platforms. However, as the security breaches mounted, so did his unease. Coupled with security concerns, market volatility became another crack in the DeFi infrastructure. The rapid rise and fall of token values created an environment of uncertainty. In mid-June 2020, the price of Ether, the primary currency underpinning most DeFi transactions, fluctuated wildly between $230 and $250, a seemingly modest range but with significant implications for over-leveraged positions in DeFi protocols. This volatility led to liquidations and losses, affecting both small investors and large stakeholders. The instability was exacerbated by liquidity issues. Some platforms, eager to attract users, offered unsustainable returns, which led to liquidity drying up when market conditions shifted. This was the case with the YAM protocol, which in August 2020, after launching and attracting over $400 million in assets in just 48 hours, experienced a catastrophic failure due to a smart contract error that rendered governance and monetary policy changes impossible. The fallout was swift, and the value of the tokens plummeted, leaving investors holding the proverbial bag. Smart contracts, while revolutionary, were also at the heart of many issues. These self-executing contracts with the terms of the agreement directly written into code offered no room for human oversight once deployed. If there was an error in the code, as was the case with YAM, there was no pause button or safety net. The immutable nature of blockchain, a feature lauded for its transparency, became a double-edged sword. Many developers like Sarah Kim, a blockchain engineer from New York, grappled with the challenges of creating foolproof smart contracts. Sarah spent long nights poring over code, aware that any oversight could lead to financial catastrophe. The pressure to innovate and deploy quickly was immense, driven by a community eager to capitalize on the DeFi boom. Yet, the lessons from these errors were stark reminders of the responsibilities shouldered by creators in this space. Regulatory uncertainty also contributed to the cracks in DeFi. While traditional finance operated under a clear set of rules and guidelines, DeFi existed in a gray area. The lack of regulation provided freedom, but also resulted in a lack of recourse for those who suffered losses. For countries like the United States, where financial regulation is stringent, the decentralized nature of DeFi posed unique challenges. How do you regulate a system that claims to operate beyond borders and authorities? As the cracks widened, debates intensified about the sustainability of the DeFi ecosystem. Critics argued that without comprehensive security protocols and regulatory frameworks, DeFi could not continue on its ambitious trajectory. Proponents, however, saw these challenges as growing pains, necessary hurdles in the evolution towards a more democratized financial future. For individuals like Ethan Wood, who watched as his investments were affected by these cracks, the experience became a lesson in both the potential and perils of DeFi. Ethan found himself more cautious, more discerning in where he placed his trust and his resources. Reflecting on DeFi summer, it became clear that despite the cracks, the desire for a decentralized financial system remained strong. The idea that individuals could control their financial destiny without intermediaries was too compelling to abandon. Yet, as the summer of 2020 gave way to autumn, it was evident that the path forward would require more than innovation. It would demand introspection, regulation, and resilience. This period of reflection led to a burgeoning focus on security audits and more deliberate development practices. Platforms began to prioritize user education, ensuring that participants understood both the opportunities and risks. Initiatives sprung up to provide insurance against unexpected losses, offering a layer of security for wary investors. DeFi summer demonstrated the power of collective innovation, but also underscored the importance of vigilance. The cracks, visible and stark, served as reminders that even the most promising systems require scrutiny and care. As we look towards the next chapter in this unfolding story, we turn our gaze to the consequences of these vulnerabilities, to the fall that often follows precipitous rise. The next chapter will explore how the decline of DeFi summer impacted investors and developers alike, forever altering the landscape of decentralized finance. Join us as we delve into the aftermath of a phenomenon that captivated and confounded in equal measure. In the latter part of 2020, the fervor that once surrounded decentralized finance began its gradual descent. The exuberance of DeFi summer gave way to a more somber realization of its inherent risks and limitations. Investors and developers, once united by optimism, faced the growing pains of a rapidly evolving financial ecosystem. The decline in enthusiasm was not due to a single event, but rather a confluence of factors that cast shadows over the bright visions of a decentralized future. Smart contracts, which served as the backbone of DeFi platforms, revealed vulnerabilities that even the most ardent supporters could not ignore. In September 2020, a significant breach on the BZX protocol resulted in losses exceeding $8 million. These breaches became cautionary tales, reflecting the high stakes involved in the unregulated realm of DeFi. Security concerns were not the only issues eroding the foundation of DeFi. Market volatility, a known but often underestimated risk, struck with a force that tested the resilience of these nascent financial systems. The value of Ethereum, a critical component of most DeFi platforms, fluctuated wildly, affecting liquidity and investor sentiment. By November, Ethereum's price had dropped nearly 30% from its summer highs, sending ripples of uncertainty across the DeFi landscape. This market instability was compounded by the complex nature of yield farming, a practice that had captivated many with promises of high returns. Yield farming strategies required constant attention and an intricate understanding of the platforms involved. Newcomers, attracted by the lure of quick profits, often found themselves unprepared for the market's unpredictability. As yields decreased and risks became more apparent, the once vibrant community of amateur investors began to dwindle. Developers, too, faced the harsh realities of operating in a highly competitive and rapidly changing environment. Projects that once saw astronomical growth had to contend with saturation and diminishing returns. The decentralized nature of these platforms, while revolutionary, also meant that support and resources were limited. Many teams, initially buoyed by early success, struggled to maintain momentum and innovation. Amidst the turmoil, the human stories of those affected began to surface, painting a picture of both hope and hardship. Consider the story of Sarah Wu, a software developer from Singapore who invested her savings in various DeFi projects. Initially, she saw her investments grow, but as the market turned, Sarah found herself navigating losses she had not anticipated. Her experience was a testament to the volatility and unpredictability that defined this period. Similarly, Ethan Tran, a young entrepreneur from San Francisco, embarked on a DeFi project that had shown immense promise in its early days. As user interest waned and competition increased, sustaining the project's growth became increasingly difficult. Ethan's journey highlighted the challenges of maintaining a foothold in the ever-shifting sands of the DeFi landscape. The decline was not just a financial or technological downturn, but also a psychological one. The community that had once thrived on innovation and collaboration now faced skepticism and doubt. Forums and discussion groups that were once abuzz with ideas and enthusiasm began to echo with concerns and cautionary tales. The optimism of DeFi summer had given way to a more cautious and measured approach. Regulatory scrutiny, which had been a distant concern during the peak of DeFi summer, now loomed large over the sector. Governments and financial authorities began to take a closer look at the activities within the DeFi space. The lack of oversight and the potential for misuse drew attention from regulators seeking to protect investors and maintain financial stability. As investigations commenced, uncertainty grew within the community, further dampening the spirit that had driven the DeFi boom. Despite these challenges, the impact of DeFi summer was undeniable. It had brought decentralized finance into the mainstream conversation, challenging traditional financial systems and sparking discussions about the future of money. The lessons learned during this period, though hard-won, would shape the direction of DeFi for years to come. Investors and developers, having experienced the highs and lows, were now more equipped to navigate the complexities of this emerging field. As the year drew to a close, the DeFi community began to regroup, reflecting on the successes and failures of the summer. There was a growing understanding that while the hype had subsided, the fundamental innovations of DeFi remained strong. This realization encouraged a more sustainable approach to project development and investment. The focus shifted from short-term gains to long-term resilience and security. In the wake of DeFi summer's decline, the path forward required a delicate balance of innovation and caution. The experiences of 2020 would inform future endeavors, guiding a new wave of projects with lessons learned in mind. The community's resilience, though tested, remained intact, driven by a shared vision of a decentralized financial future. As DeFi continued to evolve, the legacy of its transformative summer would serve as both a cautionary tale and a source of inspiration. And so, as the dust settled on the exuberance of DeFi summer, a new chapter awaited, one that would delve into the aftermath of this pivotal period in financial history. It was time to examine the immediate consequences, the reactions from the broader financial world, and what lay ahead for decentralized finance. With lessons learned and new challenges to face, the journey towards redefining the future of finance was far from over. The stage was set for a deeper exploration of the aftermath, a reflection on the ripples that DeFi summer left in its wake. The stage was set for a deeper exploration of the aftermath, a reflection on the ripples that DeFi summer left in its wake. As the vibrant hues of that intense season faded, those who had been swept up in its fervor found themselves standing amidst echoes of opportunity and regret. By September 2020, the exuberance that had once saturated the DeFi space began to give way to a more somber reality. The questions lingering in the air were those of sustainability, security, and true value. For many investors, the fall was as swift as the rise. The total value locked in DeFi protocols had reached an astonishing $10 billion by late summer. But as September rolled in, the momentum began to wane. Whale investors who had initially fueled the growth started to pull out, keenly aware of the fragility inherent in the market's rapid development. It wasn't just the numbers that changed, it was the sentiment. Projects that had once promised revolution and liberation through financial decentralization were now under scrutiny for their operational risks and vulnerabilities. Flash loan attacks like the infamous BZX incident in February 2020, where a hacker exploited the system for $350, became more frequent and sophisticated. These incidents shone a harsh light on the chinks in the armor of DeFi protocols. The community had to confront the uncomfortable reality that innovation had outpaced security. Developers, many of them working from makeshift home offices, felt the strain profoundly. Vitalik Buterin, the co-founder of Ethereum, expressed his concerns publicly, emphasizing the need for robust auditing and the dangers of reckless innovation. In a tweet dated September 3, 2020, he warned against the perils of blindly chasing high yields without understanding the risks involved. His voice echoed the growing calls for caution and responsibility within the ecosystem. Meanwhile, for retail investors who had entered the arena dazzled by promises of quick gains, the experience was a rude awakening. Stories began to surface of individuals who had invested their savings, only to watch them evaporate almost overnight. John, a software engineer from Denver, Colorado, shared his story on a DeFi forum. He had put $25,000 into a promising yield farming project, only to lose nearly half when the token's price plummeted. For John, and many like him, the aftermath was not just financial loss, but also a crisis of trust and optimism. The financial world outside of crypto watched these developments with a mix of fascination and trepidation. Traditional financial institutions, which had initially viewed DeFi as a fringe experiment, started to take a more serious interest in its implications. In October 2020, JP Morgan published a report analyzing the potential of DeFi to disrupt traditional banking systems. While acknowledging its innovative potential, the report also highlighted the risks posed by unregulated financial activities. On the regulatory front, the calls for oversight grew louder. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, along with financial regulators in Europe and Asia, began to discuss frameworks that could address the challenges posed by decentralized finance. In November 2020, the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, issued guidelines aimed at helping countries regulate virtual assets, including those involved in DeFi. These efforts marked the beginning of a complex dialogue between innovation and regulation that would shape the future of the industry. For the crypto community, the aftermath was a moment of introspection. Developers and thought leaders convened in virtual conferences and meetups, discussing lessons learned and pathways forward. The Ethereum community, in particular, took this as an opportunity to strengthen its network, focusing on the transition to Ethereum 2.0, which promised increased scalability and security. This period of reflection laid the groundwork for more mature and resilient DeFi projects in the years to come. Amidst the challenges, there were also stories of resilience and adaptation. New projects emerged, learning from the pitfalls of their predecessors. Uniswap, a decentralized exchange, launched its Uni token in September 2020, introducing governance tokens that gave users a voice in the protocol's development. This model of community-driven governance provided a blueprint for other projects seeking to align incentives and enhance security. As 2020 drew to a close, the DeFi landscape had changed irrevocably. The initial hype had subsided, but in its place was a more grounded perspective on the promises and perils of decentralized finance. The lessons of DeFi summer were manifold: the necessity of rigorous security measures, the importance of sustainable growth, and the power of community engagement. The human stories intertwined with these broader trends underscored the deeply personal impact of this financial experiment. For some, it was an opportunity lost. For others, a catalyst for innovation and collaboration. And for all, it was a reminder of the perpetual dance between risk and reward that defines the financial world. As the industry continued to evolve, the stage was set for the next chapter in the saga of decentralized finance. With regulatory frameworks beginning to take shape and technological advancements on the horizon, the question remained: how would DeFi navigate its way through these new challenges and opportunities? In the following chapter, we will delve into the investigations and regulatory responses that followed DeFi summer. The inquiries that sought to unravel the complexities of decentralized finance and the policy discussions that aim to chart a course for its future. As we step into this next phase, we consider both the shadows and the possibilities that lie ahead in this evolving narrative. As we step into this next phase, we consider both the shadows and the possibilities that lie ahead in this evolving narrative. The summer of 2020 had come and gone, leaving in its wake a complex web of technological triumphs and human errors. DeFi summer, as it was coined, had drawn both enthusiasts and skeptics into its orbit, each with their own stakes and stories. Now, the aftermath demanded scrutiny and accountability. The months following the explosive growth of decentralized finance were marked by a heightened sense of vigilance. Regulatory bodies around the world took notice. The allure of a financial system unbound by traditional infrastructures had attracted not just innovators, but also opportunists. In the United States, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, an agency established in the wake of the 1929 stock market crash, turned its attention to the newfound digital frontier. On February 15, 2021, a formal investigation was launched by the SEC into Uniswap Labs, the creator of one of the largest DeFi platforms at the time. Uniswap had become a cornerstone of the DeFi ecosystem, facilitating billions of dollars in daily transactions. The agency aimed to understand how such platforms operated and whether they complied with existing securities laws. The investigation into Uniswap was emblematic of a broader trend. Globally, financial watchdogs sought to decipher the mechanics of DeFi, an entity both everywhere and nowhere, simultaneously tangible and elusive. In the European Union, the European Securities and Markets Authority, SMA, began preliminary talks on how to approach the regulation of decentralized assets. They faced the challenge of crafting rules for a system designed to resist centralized oversight. To grasp the full scope of DeFi's regulatory challenges, one must consider its foundational technology, the blockchain. Blockchains, with their transparent and immutable ledgers, offered a glimpse into every transaction while simultaneously masking the identities behind them. Regulators struggled to reconcile the transparency of blockchain with the anonymity it afforded its users. In Singapore, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, MES, approached the matter with cautious optimism. Known for its progressive stance on fintech, MES initiated a dialogue with local DeFi startups in March 2021. Their objective was to create a framework that could foster innovation while safeguarding investor interests. This delicate balance became a recurring theme as countries navigated the uncharted waters of DeFi regulation. Yet, not all scrutiny was met with resistance. Within the DeFi community, there was recognition that some form of oversight could legitimize and stabilize the sector. Leaders such as Hayden Adams, the founder of Uniswap, publicly acknowledged the need for clearer guidelines. In a statement on March 30th, 2021, Adams expressed his willingness to cooperate with regulatory bodies to better understand and address their concerns. As the investigations deepened, so too did the realization of DeFi's vulnerabilities. The very qualities that made it revolutionary, its openness, its reliance on code, its defiance of borders, also made it susceptible to exploitation. Security breaches, a recurring issue, continued to plague the community. In April 2021, an incident involving the platform Uranium Finance resulted in a loss of $50 million due to a poorly executed smart contract upgrade. Such breaches underscored the need for robust security protocols and thorough auditing processes. They also highlighted the human element of DeFi, developers working tirelessly behind the scenes, sometimes under immense pressure, to keep pace with a rapidly evolving landscape. For many involved in these projects, DeFi was more than just a financial tool. It was a movement. Stories emerged of developers who had sacrificed everything for a chance to rewrite the rules of finance. One such individual, Alice Zhang, a software engineer from Beijing, had spent countless nights coding, driven by the possibility of a more equitable financial future. Her story, like many others, was a testament to the passion fueling DeFi. However, the intersection of idealism and reality was fraught with challenges. By the summer of 2021, tangible consequences of regulatory scrutiny began to manifest. Some projects, unable to comply with evolving regulations, chose to cease operations. Others, like the lending protocol Compound, faced increased pressure to enhance transparency and security measures. Amidst this backdrop, the global conversation around digital currencies gained momentum. Central banks began exploring the concept of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, as a counterbalance to decentralized finance. In July 2021, the People's Bank of China announced a pilot program for the digital yuan, highlighting the potential for state-backed digital currencies to coexist with, or even supplant, decentralized ones. The introduction of CBDCs brought a new dimension to the regulatory discourse. Could governments harness the power of blockchain while retaining control? Or would the decentralized ethos of DeFi prove too potent to be tamed by traditional institutions? These questions lingered in the air, challenging policymakers to envision a future where both systems might coexist. Throughout this period, dialogue remained a critical tool. Industry conferences, once the domain of technologists and entrepreneurs, now welcomed policymakers and academics. At the DevCon conference in September 2021, discussions centered on finding common ground between innovation and regulation. These conversations, though complex, were necessary steps toward integration and collaboration. By October 2021, it was clear that DeFi had permanently altered the financial landscape. Despite setbacks and challenges, its legacy was undeniable. The very act of questioning traditional financial systems had sparked a global dialogue about equity, access, and autonomy. As we prepare to delve into the legacy of DeFi Summer in our next chapter, we recognize that this investigation is just the beginning. The questions raised during this period continue to ripple through the halls of government and the minds of innovators alike. In the end, the story of DeFi Summer is one of both chaos and clarity, a testament to the power of technology to reshape our world, and a reminder that with great innovation comes great responsibility. As we look forward, we ask, what lessons will we carry into the future of finance? The answers await us in the unfolding chapters to come. The answers await us in the unfolding chapters to come, guiding us deeper into the profound legacy of DeFi Summer. As the calendar flipped to 2021, the dust of DeFi Summer began to settle, but its impact continued to reverberate across the financial landscape. Industry experts, financial analysts, and tech enthusiasts all pondered one pressing question: what lasting imprint would DeFi Summer leave on the world of finance and technology? To appreciate the legacy of DeFi summer, we must first understand the scale of what transpired during those pivotal months in 2020. Over the course of that summer, decentralized finance reshaped the way we perceived money, lending, and financial autonomy. The total value locked in DeFi platforms soared from under $1 billion in June 2020 to over $10 billion by September. This surge was not merely a trend, it was a seismic shift in how we thought about financial systems. Key platforms such as Uniswap, MakerDAO, and Compound became household names within the crypto community. They demonstrated the power of blockchain technology to disrupt traditional banking by allowing individuals to lend, borrow, and trade without intermediaries. For the first time, people around the globe could participate in complex financial activities using just a smartphone and a digital wallet. This democratization of finance was arguably the most significant achievement of DeFi summer. However, the rapid rise of DeFi was not without its challenges. The vulnerabilities exposed, such as security breaches and market volatility, served as harsh reminders of the nascent state of the technology. Incidents like the $25 million hack of the protocol D-Force in April 2020 highlighted the risks inherent in a system still in its infancy. Yet, these challenges were not the end of DeFi, but rather a catalyst for growth and maturation. Lessons were learned, and protocols improved their security measures, making the ecosystem more resilient. The aftermath of DeFi summer also sparked a wave of regulatory scrutiny. Governments and financial regulators worldwide began to take a closer look at the activities within this burgeoning sector. In the United States, the Securities and Exchange Commission increased its focus on ensuring compliance with existing financial regulations, while other countries explored new legislation tailored to the unique nature of decentralized finance. These regulatory considerations were spurred by the very real risks associated with DeFi, but they also pointed to the growing recognition of its potential. As Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, noted in late 2020, DeFi represents not just a technological innovation, but a fundamental shift in financial power dynamics. This shift challenged traditional financial institutions to rethink their roles and adapt to a rapidly changing environment. The legacy of DeFi summer also extends beyond technical advancements and regulatory debates. It influenced how people viewed the concept of financial inclusion. In regions with limited access to traditional banking services, DeFi offered a new avenue for financial empowerment. In countries like Nigeria and Argentina, where economic instability often threatened savings, decentralized solutions provided a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation. Moreover, DeFi summer invigorated a renewed interest in blockchain technology, leading to further innovations. The introduction of yield farming and liquidity mining captured the imagination of developers and users alike, prompting the creation of new financial products that continue to evolve. This period of creativity and experimentation set the stage for subsequent developments in the crypto space, including the rise of NFTs and other blockchain-based assets. Yet, within the unfolding narrative of DeFi summer, it is the human stories that resonate most deeply. Stories of individuals like Alex Saunders, a university student who used DeFi platforms to pay off his student loans and launch his own tech startup. Or Maria Gonzalez, an artist from Mexico City, who found an unexpected source of income through yield farming, enabling her to pursue her passion without financial constraints. These stories exemplify the transformative potential of decentralized finance on a personal level. As we consider the future prospects for DeFi, it is essential to remember the lessons learned. The importance of transparency, security, and user education cannot be overstated. Industry leaders now emphasize these aspects more than ever, striving to build trust and stability within the ecosystem. The road ahead will undoubtedly be fraught with challenges, but the foundation laid by DeFi Summer offers a blueprint for progress. Looking back, DeFi Summer was a watershed moment, a time when the possibilities of decentralized finance were put to the test in the crucible of real-world application. It revealed the potential for technology to disrupt entrenched systems and empower individuals with unprecedented control over their financial destinies. The ongoing evolution of DeFi is a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of its community. Developers continue to refine protocols, address vulnerabilities, and create new opportunities for engagement. Investors are more discerning, seeking projects with sustainable models and clear value propositions. This maturity signifies a period of stabilization and growth, as opposed to the wild exuberance of 2020. As we close this chapter on the legacy of DeFi Summer, we stand at the threshold of a new era in finance and technology. The lessons learned and the innovations sparked during those transformative months are paving the way for the next wave of decentralized solutions. With each step forward, the promise of DeFi grows ever more tangible, shaping a future where financial freedom is within reach for all. Join us in the next chapter, where we delve into the ongoing innovations inspired by DeFi Summer and explore how these advances continue to challenge and redefine the global financial landscape. As we close this chapter on DeFi Summer, we find ourselves reflecting on the intricacies and insights that this phenomenon has unveiled. The summer of 2020 stands as a vivid reminder of how swiftly technology can reshape our financial landscapes, challenging the traditional norms that have long governed our economies. At its core, DeFi Summer was a testament to human ingenuity and our relentless pursuit of innovation. It showcased the possibilities that lie within decentralized systems, a glimpse into a future where finance is accessible, transparent, and perhaps equitable. Yet it also served as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the delicate balance between ambition and caution. This period illuminated the dual nature of trust in a digital age. Trust was no longer confined to institutions. It was woven into lines of code, the blockchain's immutable ledger. But, like any construct of trust, it was susceptible to fractures. Smart contracts and decentralized platforms highlighted the potential for a more democratized financial system, yet they also underscored vulnerabilities that could not be ignored. The influx of capital during DeFi Summer revealed the allure of new technologies, but it also exposed the volatility inherent in uncharted territories. As investors poured millions into DeFi platforms, it became clear that excitement alone could not sustain long-term stability. Security breaches and market fluctuations were stark reminders that technological advancement must walk hand in hand with robust security measures. In the aftermath, the increased regulatory scrutiny and investigations reflected the tension between innovation and oversight. It was a necessary dialogue, one that continues to shape how we perceive and integrate these technologies. The lessons learned during this time are still resonating throughout the financial and technological communities, influencing policy discussions and shaping the next wave of decentralized solutions. The legacy of DeFi Summer is one of both caution and hope. It serves as a foundation for future endeavors, where the lessons of the past guide us toward a more resilient and inclusive financial ecosystem. As we ponder the future, we recognize that the journey of decentralized finance is far from over. It is merely evolving, much like our understanding of money and trust. Now, as you settle into rest, let these thoughts linger like a quiet whisper in the night. Imagine the possibilities of a world where finance meets fairness and innovation meets integrity. Allow yourself the peace to dream, knowing that the story of DeFi is one of continuous growth, reflection, and renewal. Let your thoughts drift effortlessly into the calm of the night, where dreams of a balanced and thoughtful world await. Good night.